Hi, welcome. This will be like a 25-minute, just a little mini stretch session. My name's Kaylee. We'll do some mobility work as well as a little bit of restorative stretching. So when you're ready, you can meet me on your mat. I do recommend having something kind of firm and soft that you can use while we come into a couple of the postures. It's not absolutely necessary. I'm just finding it really nice lately because I have a little bit of stiffness and soreness. So if that feels like it would be supportive for you, grab that. Otherwise, meet me on your mat. And just take a moment to settle in, breathe out. You might let the eyes close or at least turn your focus downward. Starting to kind of narrow in the amount of stimulus that you're taking in from outside of yourself. Not that we're not still aware, right? You can use the senses as an anchor into the moment. So you might notice the sounds in your space, the temperature or the movement of the air on your skin. Shifting a good amount of your attention inward. So start to sense how your body feels, maybe sense where your shoulders are in relationship to the hips. One last deep, clear breath in through your nose here before we get going. And a big exhale. Go. So a very small cat-cow to start. So we're going to start with just the lower back. So try and keep the shoulders and the head still around your low back, like kind of slouching back here. And then send your belly button forward. Really slow and small range of motion. We're going to give the lower back a little bit of individual attention. Throughout this whole practice, one of the best things that you can do for yourself is continue to come back to your breath and practice lengthening the breath. So you don't have to get forceful with it, but just allowing the breath to flow a little bit fuller, a little bit slower. And then once the low back, we've given that a little bit of individualized attention, you might start to get into the shoulders a little bit and chin. So letting that cat-cow movement ripple up the whole length of the spine here, as far as feels comfortable. So playing again with a range of motion that feels really good in your back, in your spine. And then try if you can get yourself to slow down. I know a big part of this practice for me is actually really challenging because I just want to get going. See if you can give yourself the gift of slowing down. It will absolutely do something for your nervous system, if not for your joints and your muscles as well. Find a nice neutral spine here. Go ahead and switch the crossing of your ankles. I'm going to take a couple circles over the hips and the pelvis. So think about circling the rib cage over the hips. And then notice if there's a part of this circle that feels a little bit harder to smooth out, like doesn't feel like I'm moving quite in a nice round circle here, especially when I go to the back. So if that's true for you and you have a portion of this circumference that you're drawing that's feeling a little bit awkward, slow down around that spot. Yeah, breathing. Finding maybe a little bit of that cat-cow motion. Switch the direction of those circles. So we're moving in a circular pattern here because it's going to let us get into more of the little nooks and crannies of the joint space of the pelvis. And there's all of this neural tissue in the joints. The more pieces of that we can stimulate, the more we can get into those motor neural pathways and really practice and promote healthy movement patterns here. So if you have pelvic pain, low back pain, hip pain, a couple more circles here. This is where we start to kind of reprogram and rewire some of those pathways. Nice. Meet me on your hands and your knees on all fours here. Put the fingers out so you've got a nice connection between the floor and your body. And then more circles. Circle the shoulders over the wrists. Hips over the knees. Switch the direction of those circles. Come through neutral and then lift the right leg back behind you. We're not going for as high as we can here, but see if you can lengthen that right leg back. So maybe even tuck the tailbone a little bit and imagine that somebody is kind of dragging that right ankle back, finding some space in that right hip. Circle through the right ankle, spread the right toes. And switch the direction of those circles. You're probably feeling some muscles in the left leg stabilizing you here. That's okay. Look over the left shoulder, bring the right toes down outside of your mat. Pause here and feel into that big side stretch for the right side body. The more you look back toward your right ankle, the more that stretch will kind of shimmy down the side. You can stay here or pick the right arm up, reach it forward, and then stretch it over to the left. Big clear breath in. Long exhale. Take one more breath in, stretch out just a little bit more, and then exhale that right hand down. You're going to bring the right leg all the way over to the right. I'll turn sideways here so you can see right leg goes all the way over to the right. Wrists are still underneath the shoulders. And then you're going to shift the hips back towards your left heel and then forward. So we'll do a little bit of slow dynamic movement here. You're on a really firm surface like me. I recommend tucking the left toes so that you can take some pressure off of the left knee. Or really being mindful, maybe walking the hands back so that you're more on the left shin than the left knee. You play around with it a little bit. It's worth it to play around with it a little bit and find what works for you. And if the dynamic movement isn't feeling great, you can absolutely just keep the hips back on that left heel and stretch into that half child's pose variation here. The next time you pull forward with your shoulders over your wrists, we're going to pick the right leg up again. Keep it long if you can as you swing it all the way around to the left once more. This time that right knee is going to bend and slide forward so it's outside of the left knee. Separate your feet and then start to walk your hands back, walk your hips back. So the hips are going to land between the heels here. Take a moment to wiggle around, to find your sit bones, to shift forward. If you need a prop like me, and it's on the other side of your mat. So find the anchoring through your sit bones so you feel nice and rooted. And then we're going to take a forward fold here. I'm just going to throw a couple pillows in my lap and kind of hug into them. Nice variation. Make it work for your body. Figure out what makes sense for you today. Forward fold is really kind of icing on the cupcake for my body in this pose. And actually, that's not a great analogy because I really like icing and I don't want the forward fold here. I'm getting plenty of stretch, plenty of sensation without leaning forward. And if I were to lean forward, what could well happen, I would still be getting a stretch, but my body might actually tense up in an effort to protect me, which would completely counteract the intention of stretching. So if you start to feel yourself really like pulling for something and efforting towards something, and you feel your body kind of not giving in to that, it's a good indication that maybe you've bitten off a little bit more than those muscle fibers want. And then the solution is to support yourself, maybe with a prop, maybe with a different variation of the posture. The more you can convince the body that it's safe in this stretch, the easier time the nervous system's going to have letting go, and the more that muscular tension can start to unravel a little bit. More cycles of breath here. Practicing, relaxing the brow and the jaw. Very gently, especially if you are folding, start to lift the chest back up. Walk the hands back behind you, send the weight into the hands so that you can release the legs. It might feel good to move the feet around, keep the knees bent and windshield wiper the knees. It might feel good to just let the legs be straight, point and flex. Listen to your body here, particularly the hips and the knees. And we're going to move on to the other side. Take your time to come back to hands and knees. Let's take just a couple rounds of cat-cow here. So finding that arch in the back, tailbone lifts toward the ceiling. Tip the chin up gently as you're opening up through the front of the throat. Big breath in. And then tuck your tailbone as you exhale. Press into the hands, chin toward the chest, really rounding through the back here. And take a couple more, waving out the spine. Again, practicing slowing yourself down. And when you're ready, find a neutral spine. This time the left leg is going to lift back behind you. Go ahead and circle through the left ankle, circle through the left foot. And spread the toes there and length in the back. As if you're stretching that left thigh bone out away from the hip socket, right? Look over your right shoulder, bring the left toes down, finding that side stretch. Supporting yourself with your right hand, maybe supporting yourself with both hands, or taking that left arm forward and upward, looking back toward your left ankle. Big breath in. Exhale the left hand down. Bring that left leg all the way around to the left. And then we're going to take that dynamic stretch or the static stretch. So either rocking forward and backward. Remember to breathe. Right? Biggest favor you can do yourself is slow down, smooth the movement out, and deepen your connection with your breath. And you can say it on the other side, and you can't really see it here, but you can play around with where your left toes, in this case, you can play around with where the toes on either foot are pointing. But I like to rotate that left foot in this case, foot on the extended leg. A little bit more rotation in that hip there. Right. The next time you're forward, we're going to lift the left leg up a bit long if you can as you bring it around, left knee behind and outside of the right knee. Walk the feet away from each other, walk the hands back toward the hips, and then shimmy your sit bones down. Grab any props you like. Tune into the sensation. So you probably already feel some sensation in the outside of the hips. And then you can dial that up by folding forward. You can shift it back a little bit if you need a little bit less by bringing the hands back behind you or uncrossing the knees a little bit. So you could sit more in like a cross-legged position. That will reduce the intensity. So much of these stretches, like the benefit is going to depend on dosing the stretch appropriately for your body. That takes sometimes a little bit of experimenting. It's worth it to explore a little bit. So make some adjustments as you need. And if it's possible to start to settle into something kind of still, follow your breath. See if you can extend that out breath a little bit, add a little pause. A long breath in, breath out, pause, breath in, breath out, pause. Breathe in again when you're ready. Continue to breathe. One more long breath there. Or if you're ready to come out with me, come out now. Woo. Walk the hands back. Once more, release the legs. It might feel good to let them be still. It might feel good to windshield wiper the knees. Right. Meet me on your front side. I forgot where I wanted to go next. I come into a supported Sphinx or a regular Sphinx. So I'm going for support today. If you want, you can grab a pillow and slide it underneath your rib cage, and that will give you a little lift that we would create with the elbows here. It's a more gentle stretch. So either bringing that pillow right underneath your rib cage and using that. This just reminds me so much of like watching TV as a kid, right? Propping myself up on the floor in front of the television. If you don't have a prop or you don't want to use a pillow, traditional Sphinx, you're going to bring the elbows underneath the shoulders. Same leg position. And then it is pretty supportive. So ideally, you've got the bones kind of set up so that you don't have to use a bunch of muscular engagement to hold yourself here, right? Your elbows are kind of traction into that mat or the floor. Let your gaze soften. Maybe you close your eyes all the way down here, or leave just a little tiny gap between your eyelashes. Bring your awareness into your lower back. Taking those deep, clear breaths in through the nose. Extending the exhales, adding that little pause at the end. And add one more little pillow for the forehead here. stay there as long as you like. That's a posture that if you've got the right support, will really pretty restorative. So feel free to hang out there a little bit longer. When you're ready, meet me on your back for Shavasana, or if there's another place that you feel more comfortable, you can land there. Length of the wall is a great variation. Sometimes it feels good to lay on the side or maybe on the front like you are in Sphinx. Wherever you land, let it feel like you can relax any efforting that was going on in the body. If you're on your back in Shavasana, shimmy the shoulders underneath you, and then think about the smallest little tuck to the chin. So you might lift the head, tuck the chin like a 1/16 of an inch, and then drop the back of the head gently back down. Bring a little bit more length into the neck. And tune back into your breathing. We'll let the breath be like a wave of relaxation that you can just wash up and down the body. Each exhale, bring a little bit more ease, a little bit more space, a little bit more release. Bring your awareness to the crown of the head. Relaxing around the brow, the temples. Bring your awareness to the face. Relaxing the eyes, jaws. Bring your awareness to your throat. Relaxing through the neck, down into the shoulders. Bring your awareness to your chest. Relaxing the whole rib cage, letting the length of the arms rest easy at your side, all the way down into the palms of the hands. Awareness to your belly, letting it soften and settle and release all the way down into the lower back. And awareness to the hips and the pelvis and the thighs, and relaxing all the way down through the length of the thighs. Bring your awareness to the knees and the kneecaps. Relaxing down from the knees through the lower legs. Bringing the awareness to the ankles. Relaxing through the soles of the feet, softening all the way to the tips of each toe. Back to the breath, rolling like waves of relaxation across the body. Noticing any pockets of lingering tension, just offering some compassion, some space. Letting each exhale bring a little bit more ease, a little bit more restoration. A little bit more sense that the more you let go, the more you're supported. If you'd like to stay here for longer, you can shut off the video. Take as much time as you like or as you need. Ready to move on, and start to deepen your pattern of breathing. Give your head a very gentle nod side to side. Maybe find some circles of ankles or the wrists. You might slide the feet down underneath the knees and stretch the arms up over your head, bringing some energy up into the upper body as you stretch. And then take your time to meet me in a seat. No rush to get there. Force yourself to slow down a little bit. Keep that slower pace going for as long as you can. Life will speed you back up quickly enough, I'm sure. See if you can hold on to a little bit of that slower pace here. One last big breath together. Option to inhale the arms up overhead. Find a little stretch. And a big exhale, let everything go. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for spending some time taking care of yourself. I hope that you feel well, and I'll see you soon.